All right. Another day, another chance to win a little something, something. Got to see where we end up on this one. So it's going to be a lot of, I'm happy this game's early because I actually do need to, like two of the key things I'm looking for on this early slate, which I'll be able to pay attention to right up until lock. That's going to be the importance of this one. Is Gabriel Binyard and Brock Lowry. So I want to keep an eye on them. I feel pretty okay that Buckley's going to play. I feel pretty good about Bennett playing, but it's bowl game, so goodness knows. Bram, I think, is going to play. Brendan Lewis, I feel pretty good about playing, given that he's got to be a senior at this point. He's been around a hot minute. Scott's going to play, but we'll go through each individual game and kind of break them down. But the key things that I'm going to be paying attention to are Gabriel Binyard. He got knocked out in the Conference USA title game, literally, not even figuratively, literally knocked unconscious. The hope would be is that he's back. If he's back, he's kind of a must play. He just soaks up targets and touches on the outside. He's a true alpha number one wide receiver for them. So he's going to be important. And it's just going to kind of come down to who's playing in this game. Dexter Williams, the backup for Kennesaw, has entered the portal. He's going to be not there. So Antoine Odom is a very viable quarterback play, having double-digit carries each of the last 4 games. His rushing upside is not near what Lowry's is, but he does have good passing numbers. The problem with this specific game is that Western Michigan is one of the better teams against quarterbacks on the year. They have given up a little bit of a rushing. Parker Navarro had a good game against them running. Daquan Finn had a good game against them running. But those are two of the better MAC teams. And Odom's not nearly the runner that a Navarro or a Finn is, in my opinion. So while Odom's been very, very good, my preference would be to play Brock Lowry instead of him. Let me see if I have anything new on that. I got some Toledo news, but that's for tomorrow, or that's for later in the season. So yeah, it's going to get kind of interesting. I really do think Binyard's the key here. If I don't think Odom has the greatest game of all time, I would probably prefer Lowry in this spot. You're just looking at guaranteed 15 to 20 carries. And their last time out, Kennesaw played a similar team in Jacksonville State. I would argue that Western Michigan's probably a better version of Jack State, more than likely. They run the ball at a north of 50% clip. Pretty heavy skewed run team. Yeah, 65% run rate for Western Mich. And that gives you the viability to play Jalen Buckley and Brock Lowry together. Caden Creel had over 100 yards rushing as quarterback for Jacksonville State against Kennesaw in that title game. Lowry, similar player, not very different. I like the idea of pairing each together. They could easily both run for 100 in this spot. Running backs have gotten over backfields over 25 points per game against Western Michigan. So it's extremely viable to just play both together. And overall, their line is pretty decent for Western Michigan, especially on the inside. Tackles are fine. They're not really bad at any position. They're just okay across the board. Now, contrary, Kennesaw is pretty bad on the edges, which is why I kind of like the Western Michigan defense to be able to create some negative plays. And I don't like Odom's rushing ability in this spot. But a lot of things are going to come down to who's playing. Because I'm not going to play the backup for Western Michigan if he's playing. No shot. And there is no backup that I feel good about for Kennesaw because Dexter Williams is in the portal. So that kind of messes that up. You can see I'm going to play Buckley. I'm going to play Bennett. I do like Bennett. 3 or more catches each of his last 4. They're starting to utilize him pretty well out the backfield. He's running the ball pretty well. So I feel pretty good with him. The genesis of what I'm thinking is if Odom's going to have any success in this one, it's going to be getting the ball out fairly quick on the shorter area targets because of the deficiencies of the tackles and how I think the defensive line for Western Michigan plays in this one. So I get the run game and the short area pass game out of Bennett. Benyard, similarly, more of a low ADOT guy. He's going to catch those short area targets, be a little bit more of a gadget player. So I do like him a good bit if he is playing, which I think he will be. Davis Brenson would be the guy replacing Benyard in the starting lineup should he be in there. Then you get, outside wideouts is where Western Michigan's gotten beat up a little bit more. The question is are these guys as good as like a Cam Perry who did well against them in that title game? That would favor Moss. So if Benyard was out, I'm going to play Christian Moss in this spot more than likely. I just think this spot is extremely weird. So let's just break down the second game, and then we'll end up getting into overall thoughts on this slate. But it's a very interesting slate. CJ Bailey, we know is going to play. It's about the only thing I got going in his favor is he's going to play. I think Brennan Lewis is going to end up wanting to play. Just double check. I'm fairly certain he's played 19 seasons at this point. Yeah, he's 24 years old. 0% chance he's got eligibility. Yeah, I mean, he's already on. This is year 6. So he's done after this year. No doubt about it. So I don't see, Brennan Lewis is not playing at any other level. There's 0%. I just don't. Like, if he sits out the bowl game, congratulations, you just sat out your last chance to play in a game. I mean, that's pretty much where it is. He's going pro in something other than sports. So I don't see not playing Brennan Lewis. I prefer Brennan Lewis. I'm not going to play a quarterback in the late game because Ty Simpson's going to be under constant pressure. And goodness knows how he's performed over the last month. I don't want any part of it. John Mateer, I'm more likely to play than Ty Simpson, but that ain't saying much because he's going to run the ball, I guess, is about the only thing he's got going for him. But he hadn't thrown the ball well. His real only weapon is Satania. So as much as you can, try to ignore this Bama game more than likely. You're going to want to watch news on this Memphis NC State game too, though. There's going to be stuff that you're going to need to pay attention to in that spot, certainly. No doubt about it. I think Bailey plays. If Bailey was out, I would have a ton of interest in Will Wilson. The other reason I don't want to play Bailey is Wilson takes too much goal line work. I've been saying it for about a month, ever since, I noticed it in the Duke game. And then I've kind of been nervy on playing CJ Bailey because of it. And it came to a head against UNC, where Wilson's been getting all the goal line work, even over Hollywood Smothers, even over everybody else that comes on the field. So 4 rushing touchdowns for Will Wilson in that one. Is he a viable punt play? Probably. I don't think you need to, but he is viable. If Bailey was out, I'd be extremely interested in Will Wilson just to see what he does. I think it's extremely viable to play him. I think Brendan Lewis probably plays. I would prefer, if both quarterbacks were out, I'd prefer Wilson um, versus AJ Hill, even though I'm a long-term AJ Hill believer personally. But Lewis knows the offense, and without the coaching staff there, I think Lewis is motivated to an extent in this one. And then him and Bram could play backyard football together because they played so much together. They know each other so well. I have no concerns about those two playing together. And you look at this NC State defense has been leaky, to say the least, on the back end. That is where they struggle the most. They have the one, a couple good players back there, but like 2 good, decent players. But the rest of that back end is awful, to say the least. Memphis probably better defense overall than NC State is. I do think NC State is able to stop the run to an extent. That's kind of their best piece that they got right now, is being able to clog up lanes. So I'm not extremely in on the Memphis running back room. DeRozier's would be my preferred option, I guess. But I mean, let's be honest here. All season, it's been this way. If DeRozier's, Sutton Smith, and Peasant are in, if you think it's going to be DeRozier's, it ends up being Sutton Smith. If you think it's going to be Sutton Smith, then Frank Peasant scores. Like, they are a pain in the tuchus. I'm just ignoring them. I choose to ignore them. One of them probably breaks the slate. If you get it right, good for you. I can't. Like, I've tried. In the 2-gamer, I'm going to Rozier's just because he fits, and I like the pass catching floor that he offers me. I think maybe that's the way to attack NC State, is through the pass catchers on the ground, like that way. And he's good correlation for me with Brendan Lewis. But like Sutton Smith's very capable of ripping off an 80-plus yard run out of nowhere. Frank Peasant's very capable of stealing 3 goal line touchdowns. We saw it against Rice. Like, they're just a pain in the butt. It drives me insane. Hollywood Smothers is opted out. So that tells me I feel very good about Jaden Scott. Very comfortable with that. Is the matchup good? No, not really. This Memphis team is pretty stout on the ground, but he did have the buck 96 in one game against Georgia Tech. So I feel pretty good when he is the sole beneficiary of the backfield, but no Hollywood Smothers, that Jaden Scott is going to get a ton of work in this one. He has plenty to prove. So I would expect he's a great play there. I would expect a lot of people to end up playing him, in fairness. Where I'm getting different, I have no idea. This feels like very chalky, but it's a 3-game slate, so everything's going to feel chalky. And if you're playing single entry, then so be it on being chalky. I'd rather be right than chalky. Now, the 2-gamer is where it gets really interesting, because I think you need to get into these NC State wide receivers. I don't particularly want to go anywhere on the 3-gamer outside of Bram for Memphis. Brady Cluse would be the second-ish option, but I don't think I like it. Jamari Hawkins is, technically speaking, on the season, the second highest rated wide receiver, but he plays just a weird role. I would prefer to play Cluse if I was going to play somebody else from the Memphis pass game, just because he plays on the outside, similar role to Bram, more likely to attack the defense where it's weakest on that edge. NC State is a pain in the butt. Quarterback, I mean, they have the highest total on this slate. CJ Bailey splits time with Will Wilson to an extent. Will Wilson comes in when it's the goal line packages, so that's a pain. Running back, at least we kind of know where the ball is going there. It's going to be Scott. So that's the one guy we feel best about. I think Joe Lee could easily opt out in this one. And then that's going to leave you with this wide receiver rotation, which is a pain. Wesley Grimes, Terrell Anderson, Noah Rogers. Uh, Personally, I think Teddy Hoffman's interesting. So on the 2-gamer in the late slate, I think most people go to Grimes or Anderson. They're more of the deep play threats. Probably Anderson ends up getting the most, and I'm debating whether I want Anderson or not. I haven't decided. That's where I'm not certain as to whether I want to make that the play and go Terrell Anderson. I mean, it's just such a rotation in this thing. Anderson led the team in receiving. Oh, that is the hard part, right? Yeah. Like it's the deep threats. Memphis not very good against explosive pass plays, but it's a bowl game. And do they try to get the young guys going? Like Grimes is meh. Nobody's got more than a 15% target share in this offense. So it's just super, super thin margins. Somebody's going to have a good game here. So it's going to come down for me to Grimes, Anderson, and Hoffman. I personally think it's Anderson or Hoffman for me. Right now in the 2-gamer, I have Hoffman on the off chance, like, because he's been bad. Then 3 for 74, 4 for 55. Then you started the year with 5 for 93. Now remember, that 5 for 93 I said was just absolute a joke, because I think he played 11 snaps and had 5 for 93. Kid's talented. Does he get the run is the question. I got to decide on that 2-game late slate if I have the money, Anderson or Hoffman. I think that's what it's going to come down to is, do I want a low-owned Hoffman or do I want Anderson? I think Anderson's safer to get you 6 to 8 points. I think Hoffman's more likely to get me 20. That's why I'm somewhat leaning Hoffman. I think Hoffman might end up being the guy that ends up winning you the tournament. Anderson's the guy that keeps you in the cash line. That's a tough one. But Jaden Scott's a lock. Bram, Lewis, I prefer personally, but that's kind of where we're at on this Memphis NC State game. I think it's a good game. On the 2-gamer, I have both quarterbacks from this game. I think you go Bailey and Lewis. I think you go Scott and DeRozier's because both have upside. And then I think you go one of the NC State wide receivers and Cortez Bram. And then because running backs suck in this game, you just go with Satania and Bernard. The only 2 guys I'm even considering in this game are Satania and Bernard. They are true alpha wide receivers in this spot. I think people will go to Ryan Williams because they see the name. Once again, I will continue to reiterate where I've been since the start of the middle portion of last season, about halfway through. Jeremy Bernard is a far more productive college wide receiver than Ryan Williams is. Will Ryan Williams be a better NFL guy? Maybe. I still don't buy it. I was thinking about this last night on the drive home. I don't know that Ryan Williams on returning players, so sophomores or less, guys that are going to be in college come next year. And that's not including your Jordan Tysons. It's not including your whoever, the guys going to the Carnell Tates. I don't know that Ryan Williams is a top 10 returning wide receiver coming into next year for me. I just don't think he's even top 10 of sophomore or less wide receivers. Like Malachi Tony, you got to take over him at this point. It's just there's a lot of guys that I'd put in front of Ryan Williams. I just not a big believer. He's kind of my DJ Lagway of wide receivers. Maybe I've been right. Maybe so far I've been right, but he's always live to pop off. This game is interesting. I think the under hits in this one. Javonte Barnes is going to be back. Now we're going to get Xavier Robinson, Blaylock, and Barnes all mixing and matching in. Maybe they're able to get something out of them. Jaden Ott just does not exist. What a travesty of the season for this kid. What a just sputtering into that career. I don't know what happened there. And then you look at Bama-wise, Jam Miller's going to be back. So you're looking at a Jam Miller, Daniel Hill 50-50 split. Showdown-wise, I prefer Hill. I think they're going to throw the ball. He fits. So I like Horton, Hill, Bernard, Simpson, and then Satania, Mateer. I think most of the work goes to Satania and Mateer. Cuevas is going to be back. He actually had been really warm coming into when he got banged up. Don't know that I necessarily buy it, but he's been warm. Horton is literally a TD or bust option. Very much so. TD or bust. I do like Horton in this game, though. He's my captain play on my one entry is Horton. That way I could get all of the big boy options with Daniel Hill, which I think Daniel Hill is going to catch a good amount of balls. I could very well see him catching 4 to 5 passes in this one as an extended run game. That's kind of the best option for those guys at this point. But on full game slate, limit exposure. Keep it to Bernard, keep it to Satania. That's going to be the most important part. I'd avoid all the running backs in full game. I'd avoid the quarterbacks. And that really just leaves you 2 options. So you just pick one or the other. If Binyard is out, I'm going to go to Moss more than likely. Christian Moss, deeper threat, played pretty well throughout the season. I feel pretty good about that one. So that's the way I want to go. I do want the Kennesaw wide receivers. And if I go down from Binyard to Moss, I probably will go up at that point from Satania to Jeremy Bernard. I prefer Bernard to Satania, but in this lineup construction, I'm going to stick with this. There's 4 alpha wide receivers. You get a ton of like target volume. Satania, Bram, Binyard, Bernard. So I want 3 out of those 4, no matter what. I'm going to get 3 out of the 4. Preferably would not be Satania and Bernard. So I don't mind going to Moss if Binyard's target volume opens up. Granted, I am a Kopic guy. I do like Kopic. He's played pretty good so far this season. I'm just more preferring to go to I could go to Kopic if I wanted to. That's the thing. Kopic has played well for the most part. I wonder if I'll end up wanting Kopic if he ends up being out. That's going to be the question at that point. But I do like Lowry. I'm going to want the run game. Very much so going to want the run game in this spot. Yeah, I still just think I want Moss if I'm going to go there. And then I would go there to Bernard. That's likely. See, nothing on Binyard. Where's Brock Lowry? We might not get anything till right before. Why is it showing that? So people are betting the overs on Brock Lowry rushing yards at 79.5. That's what it seems like the popular consensus is here. But just trying to keep an eye on that stuff. So this is what I'm playing on DK. Swaps. If I'm going to need to swap, it's going to be switching to this and this. So this is what my swap's going to be. If I have to, if I can't get, if Benyard is out, Lowry's out, it's going to create a different set of problems because I'm probably going to end up needing to go to, well, I tell you what, if Lowry's out and Odom's in, I'll probably just get Odom in personally. What's up, Josh? How are you today? I prefer probably CJ Bailey, but I'd rather just take Odom at that point because I think Kennesaw wants to win this game. So if Lowry was not playing, I'll go Odom. Why am I? See, I almost did something stupid. You need to play that way. Do not do what I was doing, which is put the wrong guy in the flex, just in case. So yeah, this is what I would end up swapping to if Lowry was out. If Benyard was out, but in this instance, I'm going to stick with this. And then also, if you're behind late in the slate, let's just say you were behind and you have Bernard, swap from Bernard to Satania. Satania is going to come in lower owned than Bernard. So you could swap to Ryan Williams even if you're behind. It's always viable to swap, especially on these 3-game slates. You're going to kind of know because you're playing Lowry, Bennett, Buckley, Benyard. If you take a goose somewhere, you're going to have to get off the chalk. So maybe that's doing some different stuff there. But that's my initial read here on this slate. Let's see. I am looking forward to here. We're going to go over everything. All right. So let's look at this is what I built for the 2-gamer. Bless. So, like I said, I'm going to go both big boy wide receivers from the late game. If we're behind heading into that late game, let's say Sutton Smith gives you the blade, then come off of Bernard and go to like a Ryan Williams, come off of maybe you come off of Bernard, go to Ryan Williams, maybe you come off of Satania, go to Burks, you mix and match. Maybe you go off to Cuevas, maybe you go off to Horton. You can drop down certainly, and you could even go like Jam Miller if you wanted to swap off of Satania because you got him in the flex spot. And like I mentioned, it's going to come down to picking one NC State wide receiver you feel good about. I don't particularly like to pick any of them, but I do love Cortez Bram as the top option. So that's why I want to get the three of the alphas here and then double down on the running back spots. And then like we talked about with the showdown stuff, I personally am going Horton. I think it's viable to go in any direction. You could easily go Bernard. You could easily go Satania. I think Mateer is a good option. Those are probably the top 3 would be Bernard, Satania, Mateer. It's just going to get more difficult. But now with Cuevas back, I think he's in play. Lottie Brooks is always in play. So you can get down there. It's viable to go down to a Cuevas at 3.6. That's probably my favorite cheap guy in there. I'm just going to end up playing Horton. I think Horton's a great value, has the most touchdown equity. So I'm going to play Horton as captain and get all the big boys in behind it. And I just prefer Daniel Hill for his pass catching capability. I would love to be able to go Jam Miller but I'm 100 short, which means that's probably what I need. But I'm going to stick with Hill in this spot. And then looking at FanDuel wise, so I built this just because it fit and I liked it. So irregardless of Benyard playing or not, I do want to get Christian Moss here and it just happened. This just literally fit perfectly. I think Jaden Scott's a lock at 6,100. I think Buckley is in consideration over Bennett. That's 700 more, though. So where do you get that 700? That's the hard part. You'd have to play like a Ryan Williams. You'd have to just basically swap from Bernard to Williams to get up there, or you'd need to swap Lewis down to Odom. So you could swap Lewis to Odom. That is your viable play, actually. You could go here and here. That's the other way to play this. Odom and Moss, Lowry and Buckley. Very viable way to play this. That is the natural way to play it if you were going to do it differently. Personally, Bennett's just played really well lately. I'm preferring Bennett and Lewis. I just think Lewis has more ceiling than Odom. I like the matchup better. I like the matchups better in this build. It does make a ton of sense to go Lowry, Buckley. Then you get all the rushing ability out of the 65% run game, basically a service academy back there. And then you get Amari Odom with Moss. I prefer Binyard, but it's the price differential, and I prefer Bram and Bernard to playing the Binyard side there. Oh, we're refreshing like crazy trying to find Brock Lowry news. Brock Lowry first touchdown. Okay. Thank you. This guy likes Odom's passing yards. Woo. All right. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we got the voice of the Broncos. If you're looking for updates on them, I think this is a very good one. Robin Hook on Twitter is the voice of Western Michigan Broncos. That's an interesting thing to be. Is that Ypsilanti? Where's Western Michigan? Or is that Kalamazoo? That is Kalamazoo, isn't it? Western Mich? Yeah, it's in Kalamazoo. That's what I thought. Okay. Which one's Ypsilanti? But Brock Lowry is going to be on the pregame show. So I would assume that means he's playing. I'm going to buy into that. I'm willing to buy into that. So if he's on the pregame show, I would bet he's playing. Gabriel Binyard is the most bet anytime touchdown scorer. Probably means he won't play. I don't know. He should be playing. He really should be playing. Wow, the most bet total for the day is under 47.5 on Kennesaw State, Michigan, Western Mich. Interesting. But that's, I mean, I would say it's because Memphis, NC State, people don't want to take action on the over or the under. So that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, these are simple-ish builds today. That's what I like about the single entry is like it's fairly simple to be able to play through this stuff. So yeah, we're on full freaking Gabriel Binyard watch, I'll be honest. But we know swaps. So that is going to be the key. Let's search. Let's see. I've got Binyard up. Let's keep a Brock Lowry search up. I think you're going to want to keep an eye on. So I think those are the two to keep an eye on the early game. I think the two to keep an eye on the midday game are Brendan Lewis. Teddy Hoffman's going to play. That's why I'm playing Teddy Hoffman in that 2 game. Or I know he's going to be out there. It's just going to be a question of, do I want to play Terrell Anderson or not? I think I'm going to stick with Hoffman. I just feel the best about that one. Obviously, nobody's opting out in this late game. LT Overton is out for Bama. R. Mason Thomas is back for Oklahoma. That's going to be a problem. for Bama on the pass game. Realistically, I think one of the better bets people like is Ty Simpson under on the rushing yards. That's a pretty popular one. All right, so God love these NFL draft prospects to watch in these games when they announce stuff and then the guy ends up not playing. I don't know if Nadeem Tucker's going to play, the edge rusher for Western Mish. That kid's a stud though. So if he does play, watch that one because that'll be interesting. And then we're going to get some good stuff tomorrow. I think the games tomorrow are going to be extremely good. Now, how close will it be? By the way, Dash Luke gave me the absolute blade yesterday. I was saying that if I was playing a wide receiver, if I could get to Dash Luke, I would. I just couldn't. And then he gave me the blade. Although Corey Rucker was the right call at captain, got that right, but could not get. I knew Corey Rucker was going to do it because it just screamed Corey Rucker game. He's been good for 6 years, other than the 1 year that he defected over to, I think he sat at South Carolina for a year and just percolated. Come on. Give me Brock Lowry news, please. Please and thank you. But yeah, just trying to figure this stuff out. I'm going to end up figuring out these, Saturday stuff. Haven't dove too crazy in. No, they're not taking a bus. They're probably taking a bus from Harrisonburg to Shenandoah Valley Airport and then taking a plane or taking planes from there to Eugene. But they ain't taking, but that's funny. That's a good jokes, but no, they're already there. They're already there. Yeah. They're already in Eugene. Eugene's a pain in the tuchus to get to. It's like getting to Shenandoah Valley Airport. That's what it's like getting to. It's terrible. It's not far though. Well, actually, I think it's like 45 minutes from the airport to Eugene to like the university, or like 30 minutes. I don't know. I went to Bandon Dunes and played golf for a week, and it was like 3 hours from Eugene's airport. And getting to Eugene, I had to go from New Orleans to Denver to Eugene. But they do have a Bandon airport, but it's like they said like 50% of the time it's fogged in. So a little suboptimal on that end. Let's see here. Let's go back to this, just because I think the bigger money's on. Dude, the slate tomorrow. I was hoping they were gonna have bigger games. I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not playing the big tournament on TK tomorrow, like the 50 or the 20 something dollar, because it's like it's 30K to first. Ain't enough. Ain't enough to first. I need the 50K. Where's the 50K to first? I don't even know if I'm playing 20 max. I was debating playing 20 max. I haven't decided on that yet. I haven't even decided if I'm playing 20 max. I've got single entry stuff. I debated playing 3 entry max, but I don't know. I have no clue how I want to play the 3-gamer tomorrow yet. I haven't decided. Oh, big news on the speaking of JMU side, Emmanuel Bush is playing in that game, which is going to be huge for the run defense for JMU in that one. Emmanuel Bush is, if you haven't seen, he's number 0, and he's every bit of like 370. I mean, he's a round mound down there. He looks like a prime. What? I'm thinking Dana Stubblefield, but I'm wrong. But he's got a build like Vince Wilfork. I ain't saying he's Vince Wilfork. I'm just saying he's got a build like Vince Wilfork. He's a thick man, very thick man. So that one's going to be interesting to see what he can do. Oh man. All right. So like I said, keep an eye on Gabriel Benyard in this early game. Keep an eye on Brock Lowry in this early game. Um, Portal keeps giving us greatness. Josh Hoover added to it. Bo Pribula added to it. Like, man, there is some Luke Cromenhoek just enjoying life, going to Mississippi State so he can sit there and leave again. I think he sucks, by the way. I'm not in any way interested in him. Yeah, I don't disagree. I wonder who's going to be back. Literally do not know who's going to be back for Oregon on the here we'll just share this just so y'all can see this what I'm looking at. So like this is the one that I'm the most afraid of. I think Kenyon Sadiq is the scariest matchup. Yeah, Mestamake. I think Mestamaker is pretty much a lock to go to North Texas. I mean, to go to Oklahoma State. Um, Josh, I don't know if you caught it. I was talking about this the other day. I've been ripping portal stuff here because I've kind of got some of this portal stuff down, but we could talk about it again. So Aaron Philo, the Georgia Tech quarterback, is going to Florida. Fairly certain on that one. Now I need to put TCU in here in the open spots. I guess Cincinnati is in there too. I think Evan Stewart's the most likely to barely play or not play at all. This one, man, I've still been early. I heard it was a knee a long time ago, right after week 9 in a practice injury. I think Bryant is probably the likeliest to play, maybe more. I think getting some snaps for Stewart makes sense if he's good to go. So I wouldn't be shocked if they all got a little bit. This one, like I said, is huge. Emmanuel Bush playing is going to be huge. I think Oregon's best route to winning this game big is throwing the football. I don't think running the football is necessarily going to be the way that they are able to win the game. They'll win the game. They can win the game that way, but I don't think it's a blowout if they just run the football. Because I don't know that Louisville's run offense is any worse than Oregon's run offense. Louisville's pass offense probably a little bit worse overall because Miller Moss versus Dante Moore, and then you end up with Decory and Moore. They just have way more weapons than Chris Bell. But Isaac Brown didn't do anything outside of that long touchdown run. And Isaac Brown, I will put up against Noah Whittington or Jordan Davison or De'Ara Hill all day long. Like that trio that was fully healthy for Louisville at that point in time, Duke Watson, Keywan Brown, and Isaac Brown, I will put up against that Oregon trio and say that they are as good. Now, Isaiah World, very good, but Sahir West also. Watch out. I think Sahir West, the defensive end, ends up at a SEC school next year. Sahir West, nasty player. I love talking portal, though. Let's talk portal. Come on, Josh. We love talking portal. Josh, I see the Nova thing in there. Now, I genuine question for you, because I actually did not have this realization until I was sitting here on Saturday watching Villanova play Tarleton State. I played Villanova plenty when I was there. Ricky Santos was it Ricky Santos or was he in New Hampshire? Ricky Santos might have been New Hampshire. Nova was good. Don't get me wrong. Nova was good. Yeah, I think Ricky Santos in New Hampshire. What's up, Patrick? But how does it feel that like 6 years ago, JMU is playing Nova? Yeah, Scotty Reynolds. JMU's playing Nova. You know what I mean? Like, that's my thing, though. It's crazy to me from my perspective, right? Is I'm used to playing Villanova. We're playing Villanova 6 years ago for conference championship games and playoff spots and these types of things. And then next thing you know, 6 years later, they're playing Tarleton State on a Saturday in a playoff game. And the week later, we're playing Oregon in a college football playoff game. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy to me that Nova, like the change, right? That's interesting. Look, I'll root for Nova. I have no problem rooting for Villanova. I always root for the former A10. It was CAA when I was there, but the A10 teams. Like, I'll root for them. I got no problem. We called it the SEC of FCS for the longest time. It's not anymore, but it used to be. All right. So things that I know, in case y'all haven't seen this, because I'm actually curious. All right. Aaron Philo is taking old boy's job, DJ Lagway, because Buster Faulkner's there. Mestamaker, we all know where Mestamaker's going. Let's be real. He's going to Oklahoma State. Most likely, Sorsby going to Texas Tech. I'm loving these rumors. They're great. This is like male soap opera stuff. Raiola probably wants to go to Texas Tech, but I do think he ends up at Louisville. Then the big jobs open are LSU, Vandy, as long as Pavia doesn't get 97 years and unlimited eligibility. Indiana, Miami, Nebraska, Auburn, Georgia Tech, TCU, and Cincinnati now. I think those are the big jobs open. And I think Miami, this is the top guy that they want, if I was to guess, but I think everybody's going to want him. Also, we had Trinidad Chambliss get asked about if he got his year of eligibility, yada, yada. Would he return to Ole Miss? He was kind of non-committal about that. He was kind of like, yeah, I hope I get the extra year, and kind of gave the coach speak version of that. So would not be shocked if Chambliss. Okay, we got more people saying if you're not betting Brock Lowry's rushing yards in 45 minutes, you don't no ball. So there you go. So maybe he's going to play. Oh, by the way, Jaden Baugh has announced he's going to go into, well, he hasn't announced it, but it's kind of come out. Jaden Baugh is going in the portal, was first on that news. He is going to go to Texas if and when he enters the portal. He hasn't officially entered the portal. Jaden Baugh to Texas, gonna happen. So, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. First, you get CJ Baxter and Jarrett Gibson going into the portal, which means they're leaving Texas. You get Jabbar Jalouk, the running backs coach from Florida, going to Texas. Just saying. I'm just going to leave that out there. Expect Jaden Baugh to be lining up behind or next to Arch Manning in about, how many months we got now? 8 months. All right, 9 months, whatever. Hoover's the one I'm interested in. Where does he go? I think Indiana's the spot that I'm curious as to who they go get. I don't think it ends up being Levitt. I don't think they can swing Levitt. I think Miami's going to overpay there. He would be the top of the list, obviously. Where does Signetti go? Knowing Signetti. It's not Raiola, I can tell you that. It's not Lagway. That just does not feel like a him move. I think this kid's in play for a lot of places that people don't expect. I will tell you that. Jaden Craig, I think he's very well in play at a number of places. I think it's extremely interesting to see. Extremely interesting. Pribula, he's going to be in play for that, like Georgia Tech. I think he fits Georgia Tech pretty well. I could see that. Benyard is dressed and warming up. Thank you, Jesus, because that's what we need to know. Yep. Binyard is, oh no, that's just something else. That's them saying he's questionable Friday. Where are you getting that? I think Will Wilson's viable. I'm kind of scared to death of him, I'll be honest. I just don't know what to make of him. I'm gonna play this. That's about what I'm playing. Let me go check in with my other guys. Yes, 100%. I am playing Jaden Scott, locking him in. Why? Yeah, yeah. We're good there. That's gonna be Jaden Scott. Yeah, I'm locking in Jaden Scott. Let's see. Yeah, I want to make sure I got my vineyard info in. Yep, that's what my guy just sent me. For those wondering, Gabe Binyard is dressed and warming up. Oh Lord, look at that! They're already. I already see people coping in my other chat. They're like, somebody asked about playing Ryan Williams tonight, and dude said, "Well, he's his ceiling." He said, "I don't think he's been 100% healthy this year." No, he just sucks. Like, stop coping with the fact that Ryan Williams isn't who y'all thought he was. He has one. No. All right, I'm gonna do this because I can't help myself. I'm on the Ryan Williams is not a top 10 returning wide receiver next year warpath. I'm telling you. I think Will Wilson's a viable QB too. I do. But there's a big but there. The problem is the ceiling's not there and you don't need the salary, right? You just don't need the salary. Especially on DK. Now, the two gamer, if you tell me on the two gamer you want to play like Will Wilson, I'm not going to disagree with you. If you told me on FanDuel you wanted to play Will Wilson, like in 20 max, you want to play Will Wilson, I think FanDuel, he's more viable. The problem is, yeah, there's no way to pay up for. So how does he outscore on the three gamer on DK? How does he outscore Brock Lesnar and Brennan Lewis? Like, if I'm not playing any Mateer and Simpson, if I was playing one, I'd play Mateer. It's such a weird situation. So if we got into a situation right now, so let's just say, because I'm playing Lowry and Lewis personally in this spot, but I'm only playing one team. If I was playing 20 max, I'm mixing in Mateer a little bit. I like Lowry's rushing upside in this spot. It's just too good. So I do want all right, let me just put Binyard in there. Yeah. Oh, they called him Gabe, and I put Gabriel. That's my problem. Yep. There's KSU Owl Howl showing us Gabe Binyard is dressed. Sometimes you got to narrow your search filter. Like, that's the thing I hate about it. I wish it would tell me. Let's see. Lowry, anytime touchdown. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see here. Yep. All right. Anyway, so it looks like we're a full go on this early game. Best wide receiver. So I'm looking for alpha wide receivers on this slate. Cortez Bram, Binyard are the top two. It's very. Those are my top two plays. At wide receiver is Bram and Binyard. I was worried that if Binyard was out, I would go Moss. I think Moss is viable, but it's not my favorite. And then, but I want targets. So Binyard, Bram, and then you need to be able to pick one between Bernard and Satania. I think the chalky two running backs are Buckley and Scott. I think this whole trio's chalky. I think Scott and Buckley are the two chalkiest. And then I think Bennett ends up I man, I think Bennett ends up being chalky as well. I think this trio's the most owned. Do I think people go to DeRozier's? Yes. Um, could that kill you? Yes, because the kid's an absolute beast. So I think it's viable to go away from them, but I think Buckley's like there. That's where the viability is, right? Is Bailey? I'm scared because of Will Wilson. I think Odom's a great play. I think Buckley's a good Lowry's a good play, and I think Lewis is a good play. So to me, I was always picking two of Lowry, Lewis, and Odom. And then to me, I was always going to go with Buckley, Bennett, and Scott, no matter what. I was never going to touch the Memphis running back situation because they scare the crap out of me. Bama and OU cannot run the ball outside of Mateer. So yeah, so that means they came out. Yeah, so now Buckley's popping off. They run the ball at 65% of the time. I think Lowry's a great play to me. So I want to get my score on the board early. And then the reason I like Binyard and Bennett so much is the offensive tackles for Kennesaw are pretty bad. By comparison, Western Michigan pretty good on the edge. So I would expect Kennesaw to need to throw the ball shorter area targets, which is Binyard and Bennett. So they should get a lot of dump offs, especially as long as Antoine Odom's playing. But I'm not too concerned about Odom in that spot. Any fresh stuff there? Nope. Any fresh stuff here? Nope. Yeah, I do like Brock Lowry though. But yeah, I don't really have concerns about Lewis and Bram not playing. And I think that they're going to need to have a big game to keep up with NC State. And they've played together so much that they're just natural correlation plays. And you don't have to worry about the CJ Bailey, Will Wilson goal line stealing stuff. I just prefer to play it that way. If you were wanted to take a shot, let's just say you wanted to play CJ Bailey, I think it's a 50-50 between Terrell Anderson and Teddy Hoffman. I slightly prefer Hoffman, but that's just all gut. Nobody gets a ton of targets in this offense. So targets per route run, Teddy Hoffman pretty damn good, but targets overall pretty bad. So I want because I'm playing single entry, I want guaranteed volume. Lewis and Lowry are going to run the ball more than pretty much any other quarterbacks on the slate. They're going to throw it pretty, he's going to throw it a little bit better. I get his top target with Bram, who's a 30+% alpha target share. Binyard, massive target share. Bennett has good target share, 3+ catches each of the last 4, gets 12 to 15 carries. So I get a ton of volume there. I get volume out of the 65. I get all the rushing production out of the 65% run offense. And then I get Jaden Scott, who's going to be basically their top back and carry the load. Granted, Memphis pretty good against stopping the run, but he doesn't bother me. And then I get Satania, who's a 30% target share, which he tends to rip off long catches. Could he blow up and not be good? Yeah, very well. I mean, look at the last time they played Bama. He had 8 points. So no guarantees, certainly. I would prefer Bernard to Bram. I just don't have a way to get there with the construction. The only other way to get there would be to drop down from Buckley to DeRozier's, and I don't really want to do that. Or I guess technically even if you went down from Lewis to Odom, that's only 200. It doesn't get you to my guy Jeremy Bernard. So I'm as big of a Bernard guy as there is, but I'm not gonna drop down there. So feel pretty good now that we know that Binyard is warming up. I don't love Tyleek Williams. I don't. So the reason you don't need to pair, the reason you don't need to pair Brock Lowry is I mean, look at the pass attempts, 14 or less each of the last 4. Some of that's weather, but 14 or less pass attempts. I'm pretty certain if we look at it, Tyleek Williams has more carries than he does catches in his last 3 games. Uh, Pretty certain of that. Which, I mean, he's a gadget player. Yeah. So okay. Tyleek Williams has more carries than he does catches in his last 4 games. Yeah. So could he get there? Yes, but I don't think. I just don't think it's viable. I don't think it's viable to go there. They run the ball. That's the equivalent of saying I'm playing an Air Force wide receiver because they literally run the ball about the same as a daggone service academy does. So, all right, good news. So we'll knock this out. We'll submit all of these teams. That's gonna be kind of what I'm playing today. Nothing crazy. Not a lot of high volume. Um, Kind of been doing the I'll play FanDuel if it fits model. So yeah, but that's what I'm playing today. Looking forward to enjoying the slate today. And then tomorrow we'll have live before lock before the big 3 games. Obviously, we're going to have a ton of exposure. If I was to guess, I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at it tonight more. But we'll have a ton of exposure to game stacking the first game, oddly enough. And then we're probably going to end up with a good amount of Ole Miss because of the defenses on the slate, Tulane is by far the worst. So trying to factor in how I want to play those games is going to be extremely interesting. I think the natural reaction is to play a lot of Oregon and Ole Miss and kind of just mix in a little bits and bobs of A&M and Miami. But I think A&M Miami might be the play to kind of go heavier on that game and game stack that game, and then bits and bob your way through the Ole Miss game. And then if you need something, throw one piece on the back end. But I'm largely going to ignore Tulane in fairness. So that's my initial thought, but we'll wait and see what I end up coming up with. I'm going to pair some of that stuff up tonight. Enjoy a full set of bowl games. I know I've working a little half day in the afternoon this afternoon, so I can be home, enjoy Alabama, Oklahoma. I think Bama wins. I think it's like 17-13. Feels like a low-scoring game. Do like the under in that one. Not betting anything in particular. I only have one bowl bet right now, although it's kind of like Josh Hoover being out. Like it's a crap show out there right now.